Hey guys, so earlier this week the power steering went out on our Lexus RX350. It's my wife's vehicle, so I had to get busy and get on top of it. So I pulled this out of the vehicle. Of course, I called Toyota Lexus, and those kind people over there only want $649. This over here is the Duralast version. I think this is an AutoZone brand. And this one is a little over $200. I felt it had good reviews. And so anyway, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about when I use aftermarket parts and when I stick with OEM factory, Lexus, Toyota, Honda, whatever it is, and what those situations are. And I would encourage you to watch till the end of this video because the conclusion that I come to, it may not be exactly what you expect. Another thing that comes up is a lot of people have left comments on my channel over the years. There's been a few times when I have used aftermarket parts because I've kind of had to. It was a financial issue where I was getting rid of the car, and people always comment, "Oh, you should always use the factory. Why are you using aftermarket? You should always use the factory parts." Look, I get it. Okay, I understand that this is probably better, but this is also a $400 difference, and not all of us can afford to spend this kind of money. I mean, we can't always afford to pay 3 times the amount of money for a part. And I understand the dealer factory part is better, but if you think that that justifies the price, you're wrong. There's a ton of profit. The dealership makes a lot of money. The stealership, right, is how some people call it. They're making a lot of money, and it probably is better. But here's the thing. I'm going to tell you about a few situations where dealer parts have failed on me. Also, I consulted a dealer friend of mine who is a service advisor mechanic, and I'll tell you what he said about this. Some surprising things. So my situation with where dealer factory parts have failed is, and that pulley is loose too. That's maybe part of why it's failing. This one's nice and tight, tighter at least. Anyway, so I had a Pontiac Grand Am in the 90s. This thing went through 3 factory alternators before 70,000 miles, 75,000 miles. I think I finally got rid of it. I couldn't take it anymore. 3 of them. And they never said anything else was wrong with the car. And I ran everything stock. It's not like I had big subwoofers or anything in the car. Then I had a Dodge Charger. And this thing went through 2 or 3 starters before 90,000 miles. It was ridiculous. I think there may have actually been a flaw in the manufacturing thing. I think I remember them telling me. But anyway, these were dealer parts, okay? Well-known, respected brands like Nip and Denso. So buying a dealer part doesn't automatically mean it's guaranteed to be perfect. You could still get some bad ones. The funny thing is, I've really had good luck with aftermarket stuff. That goes for Rock Auto. I never had anything from Rock Auto not fit or not work or fail for that matter. O'Reilly, AutoZone, I've had pretty good luck with them. I can't think of any failures. I can think of a couple times where things didn't fit and I had to go back and exchange it or try a different company. Napa Auto, I think, is good. I think Napa is probably the best for aftermarket. And my mechanic friend that I'm telling you about that worked for Subaru, he agrees with me on that Napa makes pretty good stuff. So anyway, to his story real quick, I asked him this question, and he told me that there's even been times at the dealer where they've had to use aftermarket parts at Subaru. He said that sometimes they just couldn't get parts. Things were on older cars, even 8 years old. It's really not that old. They couldn't always get parts. Sometimes the stuff's coming from Japan, and there was times when they had to use aftermarket, and I'm sure they told the customer, hey, it's either aftermarket or wait 6 months or wait 3 months. So, if they're doing it, maybe it's not the end of the world. So I think you have to consider the situation. In I guess my final analysis here, to not keep this video too long, I'll snug this up on the car later. This is what you do. You do research. Not all aftermarket stuff is the same. There's some junk Chinese garbage on Amazon, okay? I feel Napa Auto is probably the best of the big brands if you could get it, if you need it quickly and you can get it. So do your research, read reviews, don't buy the cheapest thing you can find. And then in conclusion, after you've done all that, if you're somebody who can afford OEM all the time and factory, then by all means get it. I was not going to pay $650 for this when there's one for $220. And along with that goes this kind of final statement. You have to consider the job. Consider the job you're doing. Is it something you could easily do over, like an alternator or power steering pump if it fails? If it's stuff inside the engine, like timing belt or water pump, maybe you want to get the better one from the dealer because that's a lot of work to get to that. So consider that. And then I'll leave you with one little thing that I've gotten from mechanics over the years. If it goes inside the engine, things like seals, gaskets, valve cover gaskets, OEM factory is notoriously better than aftermarket. A lot of this aftermarket stuff leaks. Things inside the engine like parts and bearings, things like that, definitely spend the money. Go with dealer parts. But outside the engine, radiators, batteries, alternators, power steering pumps, I think you're okay with aftermarket in many cases. That's my take on it. What's yours? I'd love to hear any stories you've had about any aftermarket or dealer experiences that you want to tell me with failures or parts that have lasted forever. And then consider liking and following the channel. It does help me out. Appreciate it, guys. I'll see you soon.